Cecily? Cecily! Surely such a utilitarian occupation as the catching of butterflies is rather Moulton's duty than yours, especially when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is here. Pray open it to page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. Indeed, he always lays particular stress on your German as he is leaving for town.
Dear Uncle Jack is so serious. Sometimes he is so serious that I think he cannot be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended in one so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that is why he often looks a little bored when we three are together.
Cecily, I am surprised at you. Your guardian has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in his conversation. You must not forget his constant anxiety about that poor, unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack would allow that poor, unfortunate young man, his brother, to come down here sometimes. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. I'm certainly sure you would. You know German and geology and things of that kind influence a man very much.
I do not think that even I could produce an effect on someone who, according to his own brother's admission, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I'm not sure I would want to reclaim him. I am not in favor of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As a man sows, so let him reap. You must put away your diary, Cecily. I really don't see why you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary in order to enter the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should probably forget them all.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is the diary that we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually records the things that haven't happened, or couldn't possibly have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all the 3-volume novels that Moody sends us.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novel, Cecily. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it did not end happily. I don't like novels that end happily. They depress me so much.
The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it seems very unfair. And was your novel ever published?
Alas, no. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in the sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child, these speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up to the garden.
Dr. Chasuble, this is indeed a surprise.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well.
Miss Prism has been complaining of a slight headache. I think it'd do her much good to have a stroll with you in the park, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
No, dear Miss Prism, I know that. But I felt instinctively that you had a headache. Indeed, I was thinking about that, and not about my German lessons when the rector came in.
I hope, Cecily, you have not been inattentive.
Oh, I'm afraid I am.
That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I spoke metaphorically. My metaphor was drawn from bees. Mr. Worthing has not returned from town yet, I suppose?
We did not expect him till Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend a Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man, his brother, seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical allusion, merely, drawn from the pagan authors. I shall see you both, no doubt, at evensong.
I think I shall have a stroll with you after all. I find I have a slight headache, and a walk might do it good.
With pleasure, Miss Prism, with pleasure. We might go as far as the schools and back.
That would be delightful. Cecily, you will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy! horrid geography, and horrid German.
Mr. Ernest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He has brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany West. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He said he was anxious to speak to you privately for a moment.
Tell Mr. Ernest Worthing to come here. I suppose you better tell the staff to set up a room for him.
Yes, miss.
I've never really met a wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid he'll look just like everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I am more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily, and you, I see from your card, are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
Oh, I'm not really wicked at all, cousin Cecily. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
Then you have certainly been deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you have not been pretending to be wicked and being really good all the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Well, I have been rather reckless.
I am glad to hear it.
In fact, now that you mention the topic, I've been rather bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that. Though I am sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is far pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand how you're here at all. Uncle Jack won't be back till Monday afternoon.
That is a great disappointment. I'm obliged to go up by the first train Monday morning. I have a very important business engagement that I'm anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but in London?
No, it's in London.
Well, I know, of course, how important it is not to keep a business engagement if one wants to retain any sense of beauty in life. But I still think you had better wait till Uncle Jack arrives. He wanted to speak to you about your emigrating.
About my what?
You're emigrating. He's gone out to buy your outfit.
I certainly wouldn't let Jack buy my outfit. He has no taste in neckties at all.
I don't think you will acquire neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia? I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night that you'd have to choose between this world, the next world, and Australia.
Well, the reports I've heard of the next world and Australia are not altogether encouraging. This world is good enough for me, I think, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, but are you good enough for it?
I'm afraid I'm not that. That's why I want you to reform me. You might make that your mission, if you don't mind, Cousin Cecily.
I'm afraid I have no time this afternoon.
Well, do you mind my reforming myself this afternoon?
It is rather quixotic of you, but I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
How thoughtless of me. I should have remembered. When one is going to lead an entirely new life, one requires regular and wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Do you mind if I have a buttonhole first? I never have any appetite at all unless I have a buttonhole first.
Marshal O'Neill?
No, I'd sooner a pink rose.
Why?
Because you are like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think it right for you to talk to me like that. Miss Prism never said such things to me.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You are the prettiest girl I know.
Miss Prism says that all good looks are a snare.
They're a snare that every sensible man should like to be caught in.
I don't think I should like to catch a sensible man. I should know what to talk to him about.
You are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. You should get married. A misanthrope, I can understand. A womanthrope, never.
Believe me, I do not deserve so neologistic a phrase. The precept as well as the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
That is obviously the reason why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you do not seem to realize, dear doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This very celibacy leads weaker vessels astray.
But surely a man is equally attractive when married.
No married man is ever attractive, except to his wife.
And often, I've been told, not even to her.
That depends on the intellectual sympathies of the woman. Maturity can always be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from roots. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us to the schools.
Mr. Worthing!
Mr. Worthing?
This is indeed a surprise. We did not expect you till Monday afternoon.
I have returned sooner than I had expected. You are well, I hope, Dr. Chasuble.
Dear Mr. Worthing, I trust this garb of woe does not betoken some terrible calamity.
My brother.
More shameful debts and extravagance.
Still leading his life of pleasure?
Dead.
Your brother Earnest dead?
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust he will profit by it.
Mr. Worthing, I offer you my sincere condolences. You have at least the consolation of knowing that you were always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
Poor Ernest. He had many faults, but it is still a sad, sad blow.
Very sad. Were you with him at the end?
No, he seems to have died abroad. In Paris, in fact. I got a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel.
Was the cause of death mentioned?
A severe chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so he shall reap.
Charity, dear Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No. He seems to have expressed a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris? I fear that hardly points to any very serious state of mind at the last. You would no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of the manna in the wilderness can be adapted to any occasion, joyful or, as in the present case, distressing. I've preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation and festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, as a charity sermon, on behalf of the Society for the Prevention of Discontent among the upper orders. The bishop, who was present, was much struck by some of the analogies I drew.
You mentioned christenings, I believe. You know how to christen all right. I mean, you are christening continually, are you not?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in the parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift means.
But is there any particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was, I believe, unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
It is not for any infant, dear doctor. I'm very fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to be christened myself this afternoon if you have nothing better to do.
But surely, Mr. Worthing, you've been christened already.
I don't remember anything about it.
But have you any grave doubts on the subject?
I certainly intend to have. Of course, I don't know if it would bother you in any way, whether you think I'm too old. Or...
Not at all. The sprinkling and, indeed, the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehensions. Sprinkling is all that is necessary, or indeed, I think, advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish the ceremony performed?
Oh, I might trot round about 5, if that would do.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have 2 similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A case of twins that occurred recently in one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Poor Jenkins the carter, a most hard-working man.
Oh, I don't see much fun in being christened with other babies. It would seem childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. And now, Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude any longer into a house of sorrow. I would merely beg you not to be too much bowed down by grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack! Oh, I'm so pleased to see you back. But what horrid clothes you have on. Do go and change them.
Cecily,
My child, my child.
What is the matter, Uncle Jack? Do look happy. You look as if you've had a toothache, and I've got such a surprise for you. Who do you think is in the dining room? Your brother!
Who?
Your brother, Ernest. He arrived about half an hour ago.
What nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Oh, don't say that. However badly he may have behaved to you in the past, he is still your brother. You couldn't have been so heartless as to disown him. I'll tell him to come in, and you will shake hands with him, won't you, Uncle Jack?
These are very joyful tidings.
after we had all been resigned to his loss, his sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother is in the dining room? What does this mean? I think it perfectly absurd. Oh, good heavens.
Brother John, I've come down from town to tell you how terribly sorry I am for all the trouble I've caused you, and that I intend to lead a better life in future.
Uncle Jack, you're not going to refuse your own brother's hand.
Nothing will induce me to take it. I think his coming down here is perfectly disgraceful, and he knows very well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There is some good in everyone. Ernest here has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often. And surely there must be much good in one who is kind to an invalid and leaves the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
Oh, he's been talking of Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's been telling me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Bunbury. I won't have him talk to you of Bunbury or anything else. It is enough to drive one perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit that all the faults were on my side, but I must say that Brother John's coldness to me seems peculiarly distressing. I expected a much warmer reception, especially considering this is the first time I've come here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me.
Never, never, never!
Very well. But this is the last time.
It's pleasant, is it not, to see so perfect a reconciliation? I think we might leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us.
My little task of reconciliation is over.
You have done a beautiful action today, dear child.
We must not be premature in our judgments.
I'm very happy.
Algy, you young scoundrel. You must get out of this place as soon as possible. I don't allow any bumbering here.
I have placed Mr. Earnest's things in the room next to yours, sir. I suppose that is all right?
What?
Mr. Ernest's luggage, sir? I have unpacked it and put it in the room next to your own.
His luggage.
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, a dressing case, 2 hat boxes, and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Ernest has been called quite suddenly back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never gotten in the way of my pleasures in the least degree.
Oh, I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily is a darling.
You are not to talk of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Well, I don't like your clothes. You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Why don't you run up and change? It's perfectly childish to be in deep mourning for a man who's really staying with you at your house for a week as a guest.
You are most certainly not staying at my house for a week as a guest or anything of the kind. You have got to leave. By the 4:05 train.
I certainly won't leave you while you're in mourning. It would be most unfriendly. You wouldn't leave me if I were in mourning, I should think. I would think it very unkind if you did.
Well, if I change my clothes, will you leave then?
Yes, if you're not too long about it. I have never seen anyone take so long about dressing with such little result.
What is not as bad as always being immensely overdressed as you seem to be.
If I am ever a little overdressed, I make up for it by being always overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous, your conduct an outrage, and your presence in my garden utterly absurd. However, you've got to leave by the 4:05 train. I hope you have a nice trip back to town. This bumbree, as you call it, has not been a success for you.
I think it's been a success. I am in love with Cecily, and that is everything. Though I must see her again, and prepare for another bumbree. Ah, there she is.
I merely came to water the roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's gone to fetch the dog cart for me.
Is he going to take you for a nice ride?
He's going to send me away.
Then we've got to part?
I'm afraid so. It's a terribly painful parting.
It is always painful to part from people whom one has just been introduced to. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity. But even a moment's separation from anyone whom one has just been introduced to is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is at the door, sir.
It can wait, Merriman, for 5 minutes?
Yes, miss.
I hope I shall not offend you, Cecily, if I say, quite frankly and openly, that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you allow me, I will copy your remarks in my diary.
Do you keep a diary? I'd give anything to look at it. May I?
Oh, no. It is simply a young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently meant for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you will order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. Do go on now. I'm quite ready for more. Oh, don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell a cough.
Cecily, ever since I dared to look upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you, wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should say that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
Cecily,
The dog cart is waiting, sir.
tell it to come round this time next week.
Yes, sir.
I think Uncle Jack would be very much annoyed if he knew you were staying on till this time next week at the same hour.
I don't care about Jack. I don't care about anyone but you. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we have been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months.
Yes, it will be 3 months this Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have formed the chief topic of conversation between Miss Prism and I. And, of course, a man who's much talked about is always very attractive. One feels there must be something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish of me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
And when was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or another. After a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under that tree there. The next day, I bought this little ring in your name, and this little bangle, the true lover's knot, I promised you always to wear.
That's very pretty, isn't it? Did I buy you that?
Yes, you've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given you for leading such a bad life. And here is a box where I keep all your dear letters.
Letters? But I never wrote you any letters, Cecily.
Oh, you need hardly remind me of that. I remember all too well that I was forced to write your letters for you. I wrote 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Do let me read them, Cecily.
Oh, no. That would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after we had broken off our engagement were so beautiful and so badly spelled. I can hardly read them now without crying a little.
But was the engagement ever broken off?
Of course it was. On the 22nd of last March. You can read it here if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
But why on earth did you break it off? What had I done? I'd done nothing at all. Cecily, I am very hurt to hear that you broke off our engagement. Especially when the weather was so charming.
Well, it could have hardly been a real serious engagement if it hadn't been broken off at least once. But I forgave you when the week was out.
You are an angel, Cecily.
You dear romantic boy. I hope your hair curls naturally, does it?
Yes, with a little help from others.
I am so glad.
You won't break off our engagement again, will you, Cecily?
No, I don't think I could break it off now that we've actually met. Besides, there is, of course, the question of your name.
Yes, of course.
You must not laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to fall in love with a man named Earnest. There is something in that name that seems to inspire absolute confidence. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Earnest.
Do you mean to say, Cecily, that you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
But what other name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name Algernon.
But my dear, sweet, loving little darling, I don't see what objection you should have to the name Algernon. It's not a bad name at all. In fact, it's rather an aristocratic name. Half the chaps who get into the bankruptcy courts are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, if my name was Algie, couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, I might admire your character, but I fear I shall not be able to give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I believe, quite thoroughly versed in all the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Oh, yes. Dr. Chasuble is the most learned man. He hasn't written a single book, so you can imagine how much he knows.
I must speak to him on an important christening. On a most important business.
Oh?
I shouldn't take more than half an hour.
Considering that we have been engaged since February the 14th, and that we've only met today, I think it rather hard for you to leave me for so long a period as half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal in my diary while the audience enjoy their intermission.